You get home 10 minutes later than you said you would and nobody asked why, but you explain anyway. Traffic on the bridge, then a text you had to answer, then you couldn't find your keys. 3 reasons for 10 minutes that nobody requested. You do this in a meeting too. Someone asks a simple question, and your answer comes with a paragraph of context nobody needed, just in case they might think less of you if you didn't provide it. You've probably done a version of this today already, and here's the strange part. It doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like something you have to do, like the sentence isn't finished until the justification is attached. Here's where it gets stranger. This isn't a personality quirk. It's not just being thorough or being polite. Psychologists who study trauma have a name for it, and it's a name almost nobody learns in school. You've probably heard of fight, flight, and freeze, the 3 classic responses to threat. But there's a 4th one, identified more recently by the psychotherapist Pete Walker, and it's called the Fawn Response. Fawning is what happens when a person, usually as a child, learns that the safest reaction to a threat isn't to run or fight or hide. It's to appease. To manage the other person's feelings before they even have them. And once that strategy gets wired in early enough, it doesn't stay in childhood. It becomes the default setting for how you move through every ordinary interaction as an adult, including the ones with absolutely nothing at stake. But why explaining specifically? Why not just going quiet or agreeing with everything? This is where a very different and very well-documented body of research connects. In 1996, psychologists Geraldine Downey and Scott Feldman published a study on what they called rejection sensitivity, the tendency to anxiously expect, readily perceive, and intensely react to rejection. People high in rejection sensitivity don't wait for someone to actually reject them. Their nervous system treats the mere possibility of disapproval as if it were already happening. And overexplaining is what that looks like in real time. It's a preemptive strike against a rejection that hasn't occurred yet, and might never occur at all. Every extra sentence is an attempt to close a gap before anyone has a chance to misread you badly enough to leave. So where does a nervous system learn to treat everyday moments like potential emergencies? Almost always, it traces back further to a much smaller version of you. Children raised around an unpredictable or critical caregiver, someone whose mood could shift without warning, learned something that most children never have to learn, that being misunderstood can be dangerous. Not physically necessarily, but emotionally. A simple, unexplained fact, I'm home late, could be read by an anxious or volatile adult as carelessness or disrespect, or an excuse to be angry. So the child adapts. They start narrating themselves before anyone can misinterpret them first. Attachment researchers have long documented this pattern in children with anxious attachment styles. A hyper-alertness to the emotional state of the person in front of them, and a constant, exhausting effort to manage it. The explaining was never really about the traffic or the meeting or the keys. It was a small, automatic safety behavior built for a home that may not even exist anymore. And here's the part that should really give you pause. All of that effort, all of that careful narrating, often backfires completely. Because from the outside, over-explaining doesn't read as trustworthy. It reads as anxious. When someone offers far more justification than a situation calls for, listeners don't usually think, how thorough. They think, why does this feel like they're trying too hard to convince me? The over-explainer is optimizing for a feeling of safety inside their own head, while accidentally broadcasting the exact uncertainty they were trying to hide. The strategy that once protected a child from an unpredictable parent can end up quietly undermining an adult's credibility with people who were never a threat to begin with. So here's the reframe. If you catch yourself doing this, the honest response isn't shame, and it isn't forcing yourself to stop cold. It's recognizing what the behavior actually is, not weakness, not immaturity, but a defense system, built early, built well, for a world with very different rules than the one you're standing in now. The nervous system that taught you to explain yourself before anyone could misjudge you was trying to keep you safe. It just never got the memo that it can stop working so hard. You don't owe anyone a paragraph for being 10 minutes late. You never did. The explanation was never really for them. It was for the child who once needed it, standing quietly behind every sentence you've ever over-explained since.